All right. I went on a walk today, and these ideas that I've been wrestling with had a lot of questions about consciousness and God, and the whole idea that maybe it's perhaps an evolved trait, and how you build a relationship with that consciousness, with God, and the Christian insistence on praying and fasting, and how that works. So essentially, what came to me, I don't know. I've got these little books at Walmart and been writing in them. What came to me on my walk, I just wrote down, and it kind of has to do with this idea of, is consciousness evolved or not? And I kind of want to debunk that idea. Nietzsche proposes an idea that all philosophical ideas, all beliefs, all consciousness essentially is just instinct. It's just the philosopher's instinct to write out what they write out, to act out what they believe you should act out. He thinks the Stoics, being disciplined, being controlling of themselves, and being Stoics, that's just their instinct. It's nothing correct about the universe. It's just them, doing their will to power, essentially, right? So I just wanted to kind of debunk that. I don't necessarily think that's correct, and I think that there is a consciousness. I think that there is a God, and I think there is a way to connect with that, to grow with that, to get to know that. And whatever came to me on my walk has to also do with a little bit of fasting and a little bit of praying, and how using those Christian traditions to grow with that consciousness, with that God, with that being of the universe. So I'm going to share with you what I wrote, okay? It's just random writing. It's not edited. It's just raw reading. If humans and consciousness is just evolved or innate instinct, then why can we do things that go against evolutionary benefits, like killing yourself, harming others, not sleeping, or not even eating? We can voluntarily choose to evolve upward or downward. What evolutionary benefit is that? So if consciousness is then not an evolved or instinctual behavior, what is it and how did it get here? Let's look at fasting. A human can voluntarily withdraw from eating, force oneself not to eat, despite his hunger. This is a clear representation of consciousness. An animal who is hungry will simply eat once provided with food when starved. It is pure instinct. Yet a human can refuse. Would this behavior then not be an example of practicing consciousness, of walking with this consciousness, or walking with God? Perhaps this is why there is a Christian insistence to fast. Using this connection or communion with consciousness and fasting, let us move to prayer. Does to pray then mean to sit with or acknowledge one's own consciousness, to be in the active presence of or with it? But what does that mean, and how does that work? Let us say I kneel down and close my eyes to begin to pray. If we then know that we can have an effect on the world around us, or on our evolution upward or downward, and it's consciousness itself that brings that, then would not prayer be the reflection and or relationship to that? Would not prayer be then the ability to reflect and readjust one's own aim towards that upwardness? It is here we can see it is still a question of origin and perhaps even purpose. However, what can also be seen or even emphasized, particularly through the philosophical, theological, and Christian narrative, is that this is a relational aspect. The more you connect with that being, the more you know, learn, and grow. It is clear then that one must build and forever try and connect with or grow closer with this consciousness and God. Furthermore, I find it interesting the biblical insistence on God, or the consciousness of the universe, being able to create. We are then further told that we ourselves are made in this image, able to create. This is something that is unique to us. Other animals, sure, they may create, such as beavers or chimps, but again, this is instinctual. Humans can choose to create beyond instinct. For instance, what is the evolutionary benefit of creating things or horrors that aim downward, or even art for that matter? Perhaps it is art itself that most accurately depicts the human ability to create, like God. Then, our art has the ability for us humans to reflect on ourselves. It reflects the ability to be conscious, to the ability to create, the ability to aim upward, the ability to walk with God. So that is kind of shortly what I wrote. I kind of want to dive into these ideas a little bit, explain them a little bit. One of the things is that, of the idea that I mentioned at the beginning, that consciousness is an evolved thing, and I just don't think that's right anymore. There seems to be this fine line between it being evolved, like a scientific explanation, and a religious explanation, because it doesn't make sense if we are the ones who evolved consciousness. Why then we can do things that go against evolution, that go against survival, that go against preserving our species. I think the Christian narrative in regards to fasting and praying does a great job of building a relationship with that consciousness, because we are aware of ourselves. We know we're going to die. We are aware of our behaviors. Like I said, that we can aim upward or downward. And I think that the ability to create is what shows us that we are like the thing that created the universe, that we are made in that image, right? There's no other animal that can create. There's no other animal that has this consciousness, this self-awareness, because every other thing is almost, like you could say, it's determined. Their destiny is determined. And an animal doesn't, it just does. It doesn't create things. It doesn't become self-aware of oneself. It doesn't decide, I'm going to aim upward or downward. They just are. They're just like an automatic machine, you know? So it's clear that since we are the ones that are able to decide what we're going to do and what we're not going to do, since we're the ones that are able to create, decide to aim upward or not, it's the insistence that we are made in that same image, that we share those same qualities of the thing itself, the being itself that created the universe. Because whatever created the universe, whatever the logos, the God, consciousness, whatever that is, we have some of that in us. So it is therefore that we should learn how to connect with that thing, with God, with the logos of the universe, because otherwise we become pure instinctual whims. We just operate off of our minds, off of what we, like an animal. We're just operating automatic, right? The idea of fasting, which I like so much, I'm starting to understand it so much more now. The idea of fasting is to refuse your instinctual desires to eat, right? Which then causes you to become aware of oneself, to become more conscious, to then grow in communion, grow in relationship to the being itself that created the universe. I genuinely believe that. It reflects back to you. Fasting reflects to oneself the ability of consciousness, the ability to create, the ability to aim upward or to aim downward. And prayer itself is the ability to sit in that presence, sit with God, if you will, sit with the ability to be conscious and grow in communion with that, grow in relationship with that. You see, Christ says that truth is a being. He says, I am the truth. The truth is a person. And this, if you think about this, that means, how do you get to know a person? I think there's a mathematics professor, John Lennox, I think is his name. He talks about God is a relational aspect. If you want to get to know someone, right, you ask them how they are, you sit with them, you spend time with them. And that is why I think Jesus' statement that I am the truth being a being, is such a profound and insightful verse, because that means you can grow in communion with that. You can grow in connection with that, in understanding and praying and fasting and following the Christian insistence on virtue and away from sin, if you think of sin as its origin, its etymology of being to mean to miss the mark, right? Everything that sin itself is when you slowly fall away from being in communion with that innate ability, human unique gift of being conscious, of being aware, of being able to walk with God, of being made in that image. So, essentially, what I'm trying to say here is that you have this consciousness in you. You have whatever drives the universe forward, whatever causes things to grow, whatever the mode of being that expands the infinite expanding universe into whatever it's expanding, you have that inside of you. Because you are the only other thing that we know of in this universe that can act like that. Everything else is pure automatic, it's predetermined. And I think that is such a profound insight that you should, I don't want to say you should, but we should, it would be smart, or at least only beneficial, to investigate what that means and how you can grow in relationship to that. How you can grow in communion to that, how you can get to know that. The only way you get to know God, right, is by moving away from the instinctual to this consciousness-like state, to this consciousness-like being, to walking with God, essentially. This is a very rough, idea. I just wanted to share with you what I been thinking about, or at least what came to me. I'm going to turn this into an essay to make it a lot more digestible and understandable. But I think that I'm starting to really truly see, from honestly a logical perspective, which is hard because a lot of times there's an idea of having to take this leap of faith in Christianity, and I think that it's all there. It's all there. Consciousness, or the ability to talk with God, isn't an evolved thing. Religion might, it doesn't make sense that the idea that consciousness allows us to kill innocent children, that doesn't make sense, evolutionarily speaking. That doesn't make sense. So it's not an evolved, there's no way it's an evolved thing. It has to be given. It has to be something that we share in communion with a greater presence that created the things that are in this universe, that created the things that created all things, And I think that we should learn to grow at that. I know I'm going on, but I think praying and fasting is at least the first steps to that. And obviously following and mimicking Jesus Christ is the end goal of being like Christ, walking with Christ. I'll dive into this further. I'm going to turn this into an actual essay, if you would, maybe even a video. If you wanted to get to know that, I recommend going to the description and follow my Substack. It's free. There's no ads or anything. Substack is like a newsletter. You'll get it whenever I send them out. You'll see it in your email. You can read my past things I've written. Definitely going to write an essay on this. That's all I want to share with you guys. Just think about that. Think about your relationship to the ability to create, to the ability to be aware of oneself in regards to moving upward with humanity or moving downward, and how that relationship can grow, how you are in communion with that. And I'm going on here, but I haven't made a video in a while just because I haven't had anything to talk about, and I don't think I should make videos kind of like beating around the bush, not knowing what to talk about, or repeating the same things that other people have said. This is something that just, I'm going to start making videos on just when I have something to say, when I have an opinion or an insight or whatever, how it should be. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please check out the Substack. I'm going to be writing a lot on there. So, make sure you guys walk with God. Try it. It's great. See you in the next one.